And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Today we have another great guest for you. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me anywhere that there is any social media. I got a link tree in my bio that will help you to find Shaping Success everywhere that you're looking for it. Today's guest is Jordan Mendoza. He is a business coach and entrepreneur. He's got a bunch of different businesses. Let's get him on here. Jordan, what is going on, man?
Morning. Hey, good morning to you, my friend.
Yeah, so this is our round two. We had a little bit of internet connection issues 2 weeks ago. So we got you back on. You got some new internet, and hopefully this will work out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to doing it. And we've upgraded to fiber, so we will see if it's all the hype or not, right?
It's always one of those things that the connection has always been an issue that I've always had, and so I make sure that I get the most ridiculous connection, even though I don't need it, because I want to make sure that it's perfect, right?
100%.
So you have a podcast, you do business coaching, you do a whole bunch of stuff. Can you kind of just give us a little rundown on who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm a father of five. We've got five incredible humans that we're responsible for. So outside of being a dad, I've hosted a show called Blaze Your Own Trail. We're fortunate to have listeners now in 68 countries. I think last time we checked 1.5% globally for the show, which is great. And I've got my main business is Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting, and that's where I teach entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, consultants how to actually build authority and monetize on social media. There's a lot of people that are on social media, but they're actually not making money, and so I actually teach them how to build those systems and processes so that they can bring in revenue for their business. I'm also a CMO for a web development company based in New Orleans called Rhino Web Studios. I'm a partner in a fishing lure company, and so I've got a lot going on. I love chaos. Actually, I enjoy having multiple things going on. I don't know if that's because I moved a lot when I was a kid. We didn't have a whole lot of money, or I'm not sure if it's just my personality type.
5 kids. That is amazing. I have 2, and I don't know how you do it.
Like, you gotta have amazing people on your team, right? My wife, we've been together. Next year will be 20 years, which is just crazy to think. And man, we can't do things alone. We need people in our corner. We need people that are smarter than us, that have skill sets that we don't have. And so shout out to her, man, because she does an incredible job at keeping me in my lane and what I need to actually be doing. So
Right. You had mentioned that you didn't have a lot growing up. Can you? I mean, I feel like a lot of times most stories that you hear are kind of that way. You're trying to find that way to have more than what you had before. Tell us a little bit about growing up. What kind of pushed you to where you are now?
yeah, so man, I tell people, I actually got a PhD from St. John's, and the PhD stands for Poor, Hungry, and Determined. And the St. John's isn't the university, but I grew up in a town called St. John's,
Yeah.
and so we were poor, man. Food stamps, government cheese, wearing the same clothes, the school year, same Halloween costumes. I remember a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it wasn't because my mom was lazy. My mom actually was born with one lung. And back in the 50s, they told my grandmother, they're like, you know what? She's probably not going to live to 18. She's probably not going to be able to have any kids because of the capacity this is going to have on her body. And man, she was just a fighter, though. Like, she ended up living to 54 years old, and she had 5 boys. But those younger years, man, it was a struggle to put food on the table. She couldn't really work physically, so she just kind of had all these side hustles. She would go and play bingo. She would go and volunteer and maybe get some money on the side. She just figured out ways to try to support us, and so that meant a lot of moving. We had to move a lot. I think from birth to 14, I probably moved 14 times. And in hindsight, when I look back, I'm sure it's because we couldn't afford the place, and we got the boot, and we had to kind of find another place to go. And so when you experience things like that, as you get older and you start to earn your own money and you start to see that there is actually abundance out there, I really leverage a lot of those lessons, and I remember what it felt like. I remember what it felt like to be there. I think you said it right. Like, so when I look at my kids, like, I don't want them to feel those things. Sometimes I do. There's some days I really want them to feel it, when I'm putting them out in the yard and be like, hey, you want to earn some money, you got to go make it
Right.
happen, but in some cases it's probably me saying I don't want them to, go through that level of adversity, because it's definitely not fun. I mean, you get people that make fun of you when you wear the same stuff. You got,
Right.
all these different things that can definitely happen. But the one thing that our mom showed us is she showed us love. She showed us kindness. She had a great sense of humor, a great personality, and she was optimistic. Even though we lived in these circumstances, we didn't always feel like we didn't have something because of that love and the kindness and the empathy that she had.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I was thinking as you were talking about that, like there's all these things. Like we have this. I come from, I'm like on the tail end of Gen X. Someone told me I was Gen X adjacent because I was born in 1980, and it like one says Gen X, one says not. But there's this thing that my parents had. Like they were baby boomers, and my grandparents were entrepreneurs, and my grandfather owned a hardware store. But they always said, well, you need to go get a job where you have health insurance and benefits and all that stuff just so that you're secure. So they've always been in that mindset. And then they told me, it was, you guys need to go to college so that you don't have to, because they didn't go to college, that these are the things that you need to do. And I think I want to know what your thoughts are on that being kind of like it's a good thing to go to college, but I sometimes feel like that's kind of a disservice because I watch my brother, he's an engineer, he gives his kids everything and they're just ungrateful. They didn't know how to earn that. How do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was the kid that struggled in school. Part of it because I'm probably AD&D, ADD, ADHD, undiagnosed,
Yeah.
but I was very distracted. I was daydreaming. I was be in class, and then I would get in trouble because I was disruptive. They'd send
Right.
me out of class, which is not the place for me to go, and then I get referrals, and so it was just this vicious cycle of the classes that I enjoyed. I did really well. I excelled at A's and B's. The
Yeah.
ones that I lost focus and interest in, they booted me out. I would fail those classes. And so I just really barely kind of scathed by, but I knew I didn't want to go to college. For one, I didn't like school. I thought it was a waste of time. I could be selling baseball cards or go come up with some idea and turn it into money.
Right.
Even as a teenager, I was doing that stuff. Or I could sit in class and be bored all day, So I knew right after school, like I moved out at 18. I moved from Portland to Seattle. I got a sales job doing door-to-door sales. That brought me from Seattle to California, and then I traveled all over the country. And by that time I turned 22, which is the time most people are finishing college, I heard over 200,000 people tell me no. And man, when I tell you that was some of the most value you can get as a human is go get a bunch of rejection because it really pays off. It helps build tough skin. And now, at 41 years old, the deals are a lot bigger, right? The losses are bigger, but the victories are bigger. But I don't go to one side or the other. It doesn't bug me because I've built up that resilience and taken enough rejection to know that I'm just one step closer to the next yes. And so, man, that taught me so many lessons. Like, how do you read people? How do you relate to people? How do how can you read someone so quickly that you know the thing to say that you don't get kicked off their doorstep or kicked out of their place of business? And so I learned a lot of these skill sets by the time I really entered adulthood that most people in 2022 don't even have today.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, so here's the deal. We're the same age, it sounds like. And it's funny because I started out going down that path that my parents wanted me to. I worked at, well, you have to know where Les Schwab is. I worked at Les Schwab for 11 years changing tires with a good retirement, with good wages, making more than a lot of people. But I got injured and it was like, hey, I need to go back to school because this is what my parents said to do. And I went back to school. I got 2 degrees. I was a teacher for 4 years. I have a master's degree in education and I hated it. And I would have never gone back to college had it been for my parents telling me, this is what you need to do. And I realized after I quit teaching 3 years ago, what you went through at a very young age is that no matter what you do, as long as you're willing to work as hard as you possibly can, you're going to get no's, right? And then when you get the yeses, you just re-engineer that and you just continue to perfect that. And even when perfection happens, it's not the end.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you got to go through those experiences. And so, like what I'm trying to teach my son right now, he's my oldest. He's about to be 18 in December. He's a senior. He's in that place where he's like, man, I didn't really work hard for the first 3 years of high school. He's like admitting it. He's like, I just kind
Right.
of, would scathe by and did well on my tests. And he's like, I'm actually regretting it now, because he realizes that if he wants to go to school, he's got to have, good grade point average. If he wants to get a grant or a loan or any of that stuff, these scholarships, you got to have a good grade point average. So he's actually on his own shifted his perspective, because what I've told him from day one is, I'm like, listen, son, the only thing I want is for you to be happy. I could care less if you go to college. I could care less if you want to be a business owner. I could care less about any of that stuff. It's not up to me. I want you to be happy. I want you to find something that you can use your God-given gifts, talents, and abilities and make a difference in the world. So whatever that looks like for you, that's what I want for you. And I think when you can give that freedom to your kids, it's amazing how you can really see them flourish, how you can see them step into those gifts, and how you can see them ask different questions. Not like, man, my parents are making me do this, but they're actually giving me the option. Like, hey, it's not my life, it's your life. Like, you go do what you want to do, and I'm going to support you no matter what. And I think as parents, that's our job, right? It's our job is not to make them do the things that we didn't get to do because, man, we want to live vicariously through them, which
Right.
is what I see a lot of. But it really should be like, how can I contribute to this path that you want to take? And listen, you may get 10 years in and it's not the right path. I didn't
Right.
find out what I wanted to do until I was 39, and I'm 41 today. So that was literally 2 years ago is when I truly stepped into my calling. And I spent 15 years in corporate America, 15 years building someone else's dream
Yeah.
until I went out and blazed my own trail.
Yeah, and that's honestly that's exactly what it is. It's figuring out what that is and being able to find it. I think that that's a great way to look at it. I think that we give our kids we teach our kids everything that we can possibly do, and then when it's time, it's just like that baby bird coming out of that nest. It's like, here you go, buddy. Time to fly.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. They've got to go fail, man. They've got to go fail a bunch. I told my son the other day, I'm like, hey, I got this new CMO role. I've got some T-shirts coming for this website company. I'm going to put one on. You're going to put one on, and we're going to go walk to cold call some businesses and try to sell them a website.
Yeah.
Why not? Right? I said, I'll pay you $1,000 per sale. He's
Right.
like, oh, that sounds okay. But again, he's not really that excited about it. And I'm like, man, if someone were to offer me that at 17
Right.
years old, I would have been like, let's go, bro. Like, let's go do it. And again, he's not wired completely the same as me, but I know he can go out and sell. And so, I think giving them opportunities to try to let them shine in their strengths is one of the best things that you can do, right? Because again, he
Yeah.
may say no today, but one day he may say, all right, Dad, like, I really want to buy this car. I really want to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, you got to earn it. I'm not giving you anything. You've got to go earn it, just like I had to go earn it, and and nothing was ever given to me. You got to go figure it out. But I'm willing to teach you. And I didn't have people that were willing to teach me. I didn't have people that were willing to coach me. And that's the best thing you can do, is invest in you by learning from other people that have been there and have done the things that you want to do. And really, the last 5 years of my life, that's really what I've done, is I've surrounded myself with people that are in the places I want to be, to learn from the things that they did wrong, so that I don't have to do those things wrong. And
Right.
and now, man, the trajectory has completely shifted.
And that's amazing. That's exactly the way that I look at it as well. I mean, you when you make this excuse me, when you make this mindset switch, this like the switch goes off, you're like, you know what? I'm realizing what I'm putting out is what is coming back to me. So I noticed that like I've always been the person who the glass was half empty. That's how I was, right? And so I was attracting those negative people who were always complaining about things and doing things that, weren't conducive to what I was trying to do. And I realized that once I made that switch, I started finding people like yourself. Like, I don't know. I know you follow Brad Dalton because that's where I found you. Like Brad Dalton. Those are people that all of a sudden I just started getting munched in with. And I'm like, these are the people that I want to be around. They're the people who make me feel good about myself. They're the people who are succeeding in what I want to do. And that is very important, to find those people, because they can help you get there. And
Yeah.
I was teaching, as a teacher, and I was teaching kids that, no matter what, you got to go to college. This is what you want to do, because that's what the education system is trained to do, to tell you that this is the only way success is. That's the only path, is going to college, getting a degree, finding out whatever you want to do. And I didn't believe it. Like I didn't think it was necessary. I mean, you want to be a teacher, you have to have education. You want to be a doctor, you have to have education. You want to be a lawyer, you have to have education. But all these other things. I'm a salesman. I sell window coverings. I make 7 times as much money as I did as a teacher. And that's
Sure.
not saying much because Idaho's $38,000 a year starting out. So, I mean, it's ridiculous when you have this degree that you spent like $100,000 on, and you don't get paid what you paid for it. Like you're not getting a return on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, hard work, it always comes with a return.
Yeah.
If you're willing to roll up your sleeves and go actually put in action, that return may be failure, which teach you a lesson. That return may be success, which puts money in your pocket, right? So there's always going to be a lesson. And to your point about surrounding yourself with people, one of my mentors, a guy that's added so much value over the last couple of years, David Meltzer. He's sent me so many podcast guests. He's answer my calls whenever I call him. One of the things he says consistently is, show me, your 5 closest friends, and I'll show you your future. Show me the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Who are those people in your circle? And then I can show you what your future is actually going to look like. Because again, we're a product of our environment. Your network, they say, is your net worth. And if you're surrounding yourself with positive, ambitious people, you're going to be that person as well.
Right. Yeah, and that's the way it is. That's one of the things that I really want to stress to people. I don't think they really understand that it is. I work with some people, and every time you walk into a room and you hear them start talking about certain things, it's like the room just gets low, because it's all about what's not going good. And I've gotten to the point where I try to find the good in everything. Like I didn't get that sale, or that customer was mad about what they got. What can I do? What is the lesson like you're talking about? How can I change that? How can I refine that? How can I make my process better every single day?
100%.
Yeah. So you talked about what was your corporate? You said you worked corporate for like 15 years. What was that job? What were you doing there that you weren't obviously fulfilled in because you had to get out of there at some point?
Yeah, and I'll say you mentioned obviously fulfilled. Now there was a time when I thought I was going to retire there, and this play, I got this kind of role just by chance, and I'll say a little bit of chance, but definitely a lot of preparation, right? Because my personality style is when I go anywhere, I just talk to everybody. I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's your day? What's going on? I mean, that's just me. It doesn't matter if I'm going to Target, if I'm going to the pet store. Like it doesn't matter. I'm just talking to everybody. People think I work everywhere because I'm just so friendly and I'm just talking to people. And so I was in the office one day. We lived in this apartment building. This building is mine and my wife's first building when our son was about 3 months old, maybe 4 months old. It was built in 1942. It's in Bethesda, Maryland. It was actually the first historical building like in the town, and Theodore Roosevelt used to come stay there when the road used to end there. It used to be like at this circle, and hydraulic elevator, just a crappy building. Let's just put it that way. Just not a great building, but we needed a place to be, and we were paying, I think this is back in 2005, like almost $1,300 a month for 1,000 square feet. So it was a lot of money. We really couldn't afford it. And I was doing landscaping for my dad because he had a landscaping business. We were struggling down in Georgia. I was like, Dad, like I've never asked my dad for any help. I said, listen, is there any chance I can come work for you until I get back on my feet? Of course. He said, yeah, come on. Yeah. You can stay with me for a month. You can stay with me for a month. So we literally, a month to the day, we found a place. We didn't have enough credit, so he actually had to co-sign for this place for us, which I was grateful for. He co-signed. We get our first apartment. So one day I'm just going to the office. I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? Just coming to get a package. And this has been a number of occasions I've ran into this office team, and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about doing leasing? And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. They're like, well, you know how we took you around and we showed you your apartment and we toured you around the building? She's like, basically that would be you. You'd get paid hourly plus commission. And I had one question, Wes. What do you think that was?
How much was the commission?
Do you have benefits?
Oh, right? Do you have? Yeah, baby, exactly. Right.
This baby, and I literally just forked out $600 for a doctor to come in for 3 seconds and poke my son in the leg, and then walk away and never saw the guy again. And I was like, that ain't happening. I'm not doing that again. So I said, do you have benefits? And when she said yes, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going
Let's
to
go.
do this until I can find a real job, but at least I'm going to have benefits. And I remember going back to my wife, literally, that's what I told her. I was like, hey, this leasing thing, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but like they're offering benefits. And as you remember, that $600 was painful.
Yeah.
We only are making $700 a week. We had to spend $600 on a freaking doctor. Like, this isn't going to work out very well. And so she's like, yeah, like apply for it. So I applied, I interviewed, I got the job, man. And I was super excited. Now, I didn't know what the next 15 years was going to look like, bro. Like, I literally am stepping into an industry I had no clue about, multifamily housing. I lived in a lot of apartments, but that was it.
Right.
And most of them weren't as nice as the ones that we manage. And so in 6 months, I kid you not, I did so well at sales, they promoted me to assistant manager. And I'm going to say this for the audience, like, please don't do this, guys. Please don't take your best sales guy and make him a bookkeeper, because I was miserable.
Oh yeah.
I was miserable. I went from like the top sales guy to a glorified bookkeeper and collection agent. And so what did I do with my optimistic tale? I was like, you know what? This sucks, but I'm going to be the best dang assistant manager I can be. And I got assistant manager of the year. 9 months later, I got promoted to property manager. And then I was like, all right, I can breathe now. And then I realized I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know how to manage multi-million-dollar in real estate.
Yeah.
And so now I have this new challenge of trying to figure out, how do I manage a team? How do I manage a budget? These reports, there were all these project-based income levels. And so I ended up going from, 16 months earlier, a landscaper, to 16 months later, a property manager, manage a team of 8 people and multi-million-dollar in real estate.
Yep.
And so I was just like, oh crap, like what did I get myself into? And so the next 5 years I spent getting good at it, figuring it out, becoming a great property manager. And that afforded me the opportunity to apply for a corporate role. And again, here's a guy, barely got through high school, no college degree, but I can tell you what I'm good at is it's talking and working hard. Like, those are two things. My mom was like, you were born and you just wouldn't shut up. Like, you just talking ever since you were born. And listen, that's what I do for a living. So it's paid off. But man, that 5 years as a property manager, so many ups and downs, so many lessons, like figuring out who I was as a leader, building teams. And then I get this opportunity to apply for a role in training. And I was going up against people with master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, associates. I was the most unqualified guy, I tell you, for the job. But there was something about me that they said, we want this guy. And so here's the thing. I started at $12 an hour in leasing, and then I just got a job making over 6 figures, 5 years later in an industry I had no idea about, right? And so if that tells you anything, it's that hard work pays off, right? A positive attitude pays off. Being consistent pays off, because a lot of the reasons why I got promoted is because everyone that there was nobody that could say anything negative about me. They're like, man, yeah, he was great here. He was great here. He helps out here. He does this here. And so some people are afraid to do more. And I'm like, bring it on, baby. Like, let's do more, because I want to show people where my value is. And my value is that if you bring me onto this team, you're going to get someone that's a go-getter. You're going to get someone that's an achiever, and we're going to make things happen. And if you can have those 3 ingredients, man, there's a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah, and I think that's, you make your own luck. That's all there is to it. It's like you put yourself in the situation where you're going to make yourself better. You have the choice. I think that most people, like those sad stories that you always see are people like, well, I was born into this. This is my circumstance. And you're a great example of, look where I came from. We didn't have anything. And I had a choice. I could either wallow in that, or I could find a way and dig myself out. And that's exactly what you did.
100%. Yeah. And listen, we haven't even gone to the adversity, right? Like, obviously I had adversity being poor, I had adversity with a mom that had her ailments. But I mean, there's really 3 pivotal moments I'd love to share with your audience, because this will even give deeper context into some of the things I've experienced along the way, right? Because my journey hasn't been easy. Yeah. So, 4th grade, we had this picnic at the end of the year. I still, to this day, don't know why. Like, we were going to 5th grade. It's not like we were going to 6th. Why are we excited? Why are we, celebrating this? But we're at a park called Pier Park in St. John's, Oregon. It's just like all these activities. A lot of them are banned today, like tetherball banned, like
Right.
canceled, right? Like a lot of these things that are canceled today, merry-go-rounds, like they're taking them
Dodgeball.
out of parks, like dodgeball, right? So we were doing all these, and we were playing baseball. I was the guy that was up to bat, and I remember, like, I was holding my bat. I was trying to be like Kirby Puckett, one of my favorite players from RBI baseball back in the
Yeah.
day. I swing the bat, bro, and I literally spin around. The bat goes flying. It lands under a Douglas fir tree. I run over. I grab the bat. When I stood up, there's literally a beehive on my head.
Oh,
And so I'm like running, bro. I run. Kids are running away from me. I'm doing somersaults, cartwheels. Teachers are running away. And a couple of the good teachers finally got these massive coolers and started dumping them on me and just pulling the bees off of me.
holy
And I got
smokes.
stung 53 times that day and lived to tell about it, So at that moment, I was like, man, like maybe there's a reason why I'm here, because most people,
Right.
I saw that movie, the one I'm talking about, called My Girl, not too long before that happened, and so
Yeah.
I was for sure dead. I for
Right.
sure thought I wasn't gonna make it, and so that's one pivotal moment that really showed me the toughness, showed me that, hey, I can handle some type of pain and adversity. And you fast forward later to 12. We were on one of our many being kicked out of places, and we had to move actually 2 towns away.
Hmm.
But in all the times that we moved as a kid, we always stayed in the same school district. So I remember begging my mom, Wes. I was like, Mom, please let me go back to the school. I've known these kids since kindergarten. Can we figure this out? And so I literally
Right.
had to take 2 public buses. It was like a 45-minute trip from one hood, the new hood we lived in,
Yeah.
to another hood, and I had to stop in at a 7-Eleven convenience store to wait for that second bus. And so one day, I was doing my thing. I'd walk into 7-Eleven, I'd say hi to Rosa, the lady that worked there. I had my 50 cents, and I would go play Mortal Kombat 2. Like, this was literally my
The
thing.
real deal.
Every day I did the same thing. So I'm playing Mortal Kombat 2. I remember it like it was yesterday, bro. And I was Baraka. I was crushing people. And then all of a sudden, I hear the bells ring, that somebody walked in the store. And then I
Right.
hear a male's voice yell, "Hey, Daniel." And I'm Jordan, so I keep playing. I'm doing my thing, playing the game. And then within about a minute, I feel my body lifted, bro. I get thrown into the Terminator 2 pinball machine that had the gun for the trigger. I'm punched in my sides, thrown on the ground, handcuffed, and put into a police car. And of
Holy
course, I'm
smokes.
crying. I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand what's going on. And the officer's like, we know you're a Hispanic runaway. We know you assaulted this lady. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I'm not Hispanic. Like, my name's Jordan Mendoza. I know I have a Hispanic last name, but if you reach in my London fog jacket, you will see my homework. And I was not a great guy at homework, but I knew that night before my mom was ragging on me, so I knew I did it. And brother, when I tell you, he literally reached in my jacket, he pulls out this sheet of paper. It said Jordan Mendoza, and this officer, he looked like he saw a freaking ghost because he knew he screwed up. I mean, that day I was a victim of racial profiling. I was a victim of police brutality. And, those cops both lost their jobs, and, I really moved on with my life. But that was another situation where, I mean, just imagine if I would have fought back. Just imagine if,
Yeah.
I had anger issues. Just imagine if, something could have went wrong and maybe they took it too far, shot me or something like that. Like, so I learned from that experience. And what that really taught me is that it doesn't matter, who you are. If you're a human, you're going to make mistakes. Like,
Right.
these were people in power. These were people that I had respect for prior to that point. And they just basically let that all go based on emotion or based on what they thought they had. So again, I learned a lesson that day that, hey, be aware of your environment. Just know that even people that seem trustworthy, they may not be.
Right.
And so I picked up a couple lessons there. And then my third one came 7 years later at 19 years old. So this is after I'd moved away. I'd been traveling, doing sales, and we actually had an opportunity. I was in California, and I was part of a team that was going to go travel across the country to New Jersey to open a new sales office. And so we, of course, being the 18 to 22-year-olds we had this 4-car caravan. We were taking the scenic route across the country. We went to California. We went to like Reno, and then we came down to Phoenix. We went to Vegas, and we went up to Salt Lake City, and then we were on our track from Utah heading into north to where I-80 is, and we were in Wyoming. And so there was about 4 vehicles with us. I was in a truck, a Chevy King Cab pickup truck, and we were actually the lead vehicle. And my buddy, there's a buddy of mine, Jeremy, was the driver. My friend Kara and Freddie, they were the passenger seats in the front, and I was in the back seat, and I was actually seated kind of sideways. You know, you can sit sideways in some
Yep.
trucks because my feet wouldn't fit forward, and so I was sitting sideways. Well, this is about 4 in the morning. My buddy's driving. Well, I fell asleep. He falls asleep at the wheel. When he wakes up, he actually overcorrects. The truck starts sliding at north of 70 miles an hour, and it flips. As it's sliding is when I woke up to like, what in the... And then all of a sudden, whoom, whoom,
Oh my
whoom,
Lord.
flips several times, and it just lands. And I remember like, dust and, buzzing noises, and I like climbed out of the vehicle, or my 2 friends climb out, and our buddy's not in the car. Like, windshield's gone, he's not there. And we're just like, oh my gosh. So the other cars see this they literally saw their friends crash, and they come running out. We're all searching for our buddy. We find him 25 yards away on the opposite side of the highway. We think he's dead, like not moving, nothing. We check him out. He literally stands up, yells something, and then falls back over.
Oh.
And we're like, oh my gosh, dude, what is happening? And so all of a sudden, 4 off-duty EMTs end up just on the scene. And they called in the ambulance. They called in the helicopter. My buddy gets life flighted to Casper. I actually didn't even realize I was injured. This is how much adrenaline I had. And I
Right.
reach on my right leg. My right hand goes in about a fist deep. I had a cut 12 inches long on my right leg. I had one 8 inches long on my left leg. I had to get driven to Rollins, Wyoming to undergo surgery.
Yeah.
And they said that, I might not even be able to walk. I mean, that's how serious it was. And man, when they told me that, I didn't tell you this, but I was a breakdancer, bro. Like starting in 8th grade,
Oh, that's
I started
awesome.
breakdancing. And so I'd been a breakdancer for about 4 or 5 years at this point, and I was like, there's no way I'm not going to be able to walk. So I
Right.
was in this hospital for about 2 or 3 weeks. I had a walker, and then I had a cane, and then I was in a wheelchair. And about 6 months, I made a full recovery. Just insane. Just how good God is if you believe in that. But
Oh yeah.
man, so like I look back at all these experiences, and they all are different levels of adversity. But
Yeah.
what I realize is that adversity actually gives us strength. And it
Exactly.
actually enables us to see through a lens that most people will never experience or see. And it
Yep.
gives us heightened perspective. It really shifts your mindset, and it shows you what the human body, what we're actually capable of.
Right. And I think that that's something that I think that people have to use, just like you said, like I've been honing in on this. And when you say lesson, like I think about that, like Bill Walsh, who used to coach 49ers, I read his book like 3 times. And that's something that he always talks about was like, I lost here. What's the lesson? What can I do to learn from whatever happened to me that's going to make me better the next time? And that's it. It's like, if you can look at the lesson of what was learned out of that whole situation and use it to keep rolling, you're going to be in good shape. I mean, there was so many things that could have gone wrong. You have these cuts in your legs. You could have got cut in one of those arteries down there and bled out and died.
Yeah.
You're
I mean,
lucky
I
you
lost
didn't.
pints and pints of, that's what they said. They're like, if those off-duty EMTs weren't there, you would have died. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I was losing pints, and I had to have blood transfusions, and I didn't realize blood smelled, but it smells terrible. The irony
Yeah.
smell, like that's how people actually knew I was. They're like, "What's that smell?" I'm like, "I don't know." I reached my hand down, and it's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, you better sit down, and like we need to get you to the dang hospital, because again, when you're in those like heated situations, your adrenaline levels going so much that a lot of times like you don't even realize anything happened.
Right. And sounds like a lot happened. That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Yeah. So we talked about, that you were in leasing, you were in management, you got into training and things like that. What got you to where you are now? Because you obviously don't do
Oh
that
man,
anymore. Tell
that
us a
that
little bit
eight
about
years,
that.
brother. That 8 years was like, training ground for everything I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And I remember when I got the promotion, I was like, I don't know how to train people. Every time I got this thing that I wanted to get, I realized how unqualified I was. But again, that's you start at foundation level, right? It's ground zero. And I remember being sent within my first 2 months they sent me to advanced instructor training down in Florida. And I'm like, there's nothing advanced about the training that I know how to do. And I literally, this was the most painful training I've ever been to. So they put you in a room, they do, everyone does their intros, and these are all people that are like supposed to be equals of mine, but they all had way more experience. And so I felt like a dang rookie, and they make us all come up, introduce ourselves, and do whatever. Well, mind you, the back of the room, there's a camera. There's a guy recording this stuff. And this is the most painful thing. So we had literally had to go do our presentation. Then we had to build out something that we're going to facilitate. And every day we got recorded. And every day we had to go back and watch the DVD. And we had to critique ourselves. And then our peers had to critique us. And man, what a painful week that was. Like seeing yourself on camera, hearing yourself speak. Like, I don't know about you, but I hate it. Like, I hate seeing myself. I hate hearing myself. I don't really enjoy it. And so the fact that not only I had to see it, but these other peers had to do it. And so that week, man, it taught me a lot. It taught me how to step outside of my comfort zone. It showed me that I really wasn't a great facilitator. I didn't know what I was doing. And it showed me I had a lot to learn, but that was such a impactful time to be able to go when you're just getting into a new role. And I got to be, around other people that I saw and kind of take away some of the things they did well and then try to apply it at my company. So I think that was a great experience to be able to go do that. And then everything else, man, I kind of learned on the fly. I was like the guy that was like, they're like, hey, you want to take on this project? I'm like, sure. I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out. And so in that 8 years, I became a great video editor. I became a great public speaker. I became a great teacher. I became a great coach because I did all that stuff. I became a practitioner of it and literally honed that craft and worked on it day in and day out to the point to where my last 3 years, I taught a 6-month leadership program that was actually predicated on Myers-Briggs. I had to get certified in Myers-Briggs. I taught on emotional intelligence. I taught on Strengths Finders or Clifton Strengths. We gave people resources like Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, and I taught on all these principles. And what I didn't realize I was doing is, in Japan, they say teaching is learning twice, right? Every time one person teaches, 2 people learn. And so as I put in those reps, man, I realized in the 8 years how much knowledge I had accumulated. So as I started feeling undervalued at the company, which happens right in a corporate agency, we went through a recapitalization and things really just started to shift. I started to ask myself, like, what if I could do this outside of the company? Like, what if I could coach people and train people that didn't work here? Like, if I could do it here and have the impact here, could I do that somewhere else? And so I started asking myself those questions. And then I started getting into podcasting, listening to guys like Gary Vee, listening to Heather Monahan, and they really encouraged me. And so January of 2020, but not knowing about this global pandemic, I launched the Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. And that really started the journey of asking myself, like, why can't I go blaze my own trail? And then I started picking up clients, and then it was kind of the rest is history.
Yeah. And that's, it's amazing because that's, I think really is the big thing is like knowing you talk about like all the experience you gained. And I think that you probably didn't realize that experience is creating a brand. Like for me, I sell window coverings during the day, but people aren't buying it from the company that I work from. They're buying it from me. And you were doing something right and people were recognizing that. And I think that you probably were like, hey, well, I'm not as qualified as this guy, but you probably, if you went back and you looked at those videos, you had just as good input as they did. You were probably a better salesman than they were. You were probably better at what you did because of those experiences that you had in refining and honing those skills. Because every time I go and do it and I make a sale and something works well, I've learned to be more observant. I've learned to read the room better. I've learned to talk to people better. And they call me back. And I get these calls like, hey, you were more than that person. Your cost was more than what that person was, but we like you. And that's really what it is. It's selling you, not selling the product.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people buy from people they know, like, and trust 100%.
Yeah.
And really, 2019, just to rewind a little bit, I know I started the show in 2020, but 2019 is really when I started showing up online, like showing up on social media. And the platform is probably going to surprise most people that listen or watch this, but it was actually LinkedIn. It wasn't
Yeah.
Instagram, it wasn't Facebook or Snapchat. Like, I actually got a corporate goal that said, "Hey, we want you to find a social media platform that we can actually create content on that can engage our audience outside of our company intranet." And I stumbled on LinkedIn, and this is right when video actually was in beta on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And so I started watching and seeing, and one of my mentors, Brian Schulman, he was a guy that got access really early, and he was putting out content. And I remember reaching out. I was like, "Listen, like, I love what you're doing. Like, I think I could do something like this, but like I have no idea what to do." And he was so gracious, and he's like, "Hey, tell me a little bit about you. Tell me about your story." And I shared some of the things I've shared with you. And he's like, "Bro, you're gonna have a bigger brand than me one day. Like,
Yeah.
like people are gonna resonate with this." And he made a deposit that day. He planted a seed in me. And for some reason, I believed him, And now he's like, "Hey, Jordan, remember when I said that to you?" He's like, "I have 50,000 followers. You're almost at 70 now, and that's
Yeah.
2 years ago. Do you remember that?" And I'm like, "Man, like, I don't know what you saw in me, but thank you." Because
Right.
sometimes we don't see things in ourselves that other people do. And when they can make that deposit in us, there's just something that happens. There's something that goes into motion. Now, it doesn't come without action. Like, this is something I
Right.
tell my clients all the time. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates habit, and habits is what truly creates those results that we're all looking for. And so
Yeah.
I did have to get that ball in motion, but it's definitely nice when someone says, "You can do it. I believe in you." Because we need that sometimes, right? We're all human. We all can get in our own head sometimes.
Right.
Even with strongest, most bulletproof mindset, things can sometimes trickle in. And so when you can have a support system, when you have people on your side, man, it's amazing what can happen.
Yeah, and that's it. It's kind of like I think about it like a golf game, right? So I'm not great at golf, and there's a lot of people who are really good at it. But like when I go out and I play, and I hit that one drive right down the middle, that's what When I get that birdie, when I get sink this 20-footer putt, that's what gets you going back. So that little nudge was what pushed you, and continues. Now you're searching for that little nudge every single time, and that's what you're fighting for, the next nudge. And it's all about those little steps that you take to get there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, and I now get to be that person for my clients, right? I get to
Yeah.
give them those nudges, and I get to say, "Hey, you can do this. I believe in you," right? And don't we all need someone like that? I think
Yep.
the most important thing that I've ever done in my career is investing in me.
Yeah.
Investing in coaching, investing in mentorship, investing in something outside of me, something where I had to feel it. I tell my clients all the time, and even prospective clients that maybe will come around. I'm like, "Listen, if you don't believe in you, no one is going to believe in you. And if you don't invest in you, there's no one that's going to invest in you. You've got to do it for you." But here's the thing: you've got to put in the reps.
Yeah.
Okay, no one's going to be there to hold your hand. No one's going to be there when everything in your personal life's falling apart. No one's going to be there for that. So you have to be willing to pull up your pants and do the hard things. And as a matter of fact, that's actually when we grow the most.
Right.
Is when we deal with that and we actually make it to the other side of that. It's the people that fail are the ones that just give up.
Yeah.
Because as long as you don't give up, there's always a chance that success is going to happen.
Exactly. It's you can give the person. It's like a carpenter. I can go give you the hammer and nails and tell you how to do it, but you have to go put them in. I can't put them in for you.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And so today, like, I coach a lot of people on LinkedIn. That's a place that I remember my first video got 5 views, and they were all me because I kept going and rewatching the thing. And now I do about 1 million views a quarter, right? Just by putting out daily content.
Yeah.
And I teach my clients how to optimize their profile and how to monetize and leverage LinkedIn to bring leads for their business. And now, how did I figure that out? Well, I had to figure out the client acquisition systems. I had to figure out how the algorithm worked. And so I built this program now, this 12-week program where my clients are having success. Like in 6 weeks, they're increasing their followers by 30 or 40%.
Yeah.
In 10 weeks, they're actually adding revenue to their business. And by the end of the program, they've got a system and a process in place that if they do daily, they'll never need another paid ad in their life because they are the ad, right?
Right.
You said people buy into you, and I teach them how to actually create content that resonates with the exact person that they're trying to reach. And
Right.
in doing so, that person reaches out to them. Like, I don't know how many business owners out there would love for people just to reach out to you and say, hey, I loved your stuff. How can we work together? Because that's
Right.
what I've built. And that's what I teach my clients, because, if you're out there and you're trying to shove your products and service down someone's throat, no one's going to buy.
Yeah.
Like, everyone loves to buy, but we don't like to be sold, right?
Yep.
We want to be educated. And so I can get more leads by just doing a Q&A than if I were to go out and try to sell something to somebody, right? If I just say, hey, it's Q&A, ask me anything about LinkedIn,
Right.
guarantee you after that half hour live, there's going to be 3 or 4 people that say, hey, I'd love to learn more. Right. And it's because I gave value. And that's what most people are doing wrong, is they're trying to take things without giving them. But the more you give, you in fact receive more.
Right.
And so I don't know who needs to hear that, listening to your show, but there's definitely someone that's going to resonate with.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part, is everyone wants to just sell you something. They don't want to do the legwork to get to the point where people just want to buy it from you. I mean, and I think, like, I'm going through that right now. Like, I'm selling merchandise I wasn't going to do it, but like, I have a bunch of stickers and I have shirts and stuff that's all Shaped in Success stuff. And people are like, hey, well, I want that. Well, it's not because I said, hey, I'm going to sell these. It's because, hey, I like what you're doing and I want to help you. And so, you end up selling that stuff to them,
Yep.
Inadvertently. So it's kind of a great thing.
100%.
So where do you see it going? Where do you see this going? What are your goals for the next couple of years here, the future of your...
Yeah, there's so much going on right now, and I love it. Like, I just love chaos. I love having lots of things to do. So I think I mentioned at the beginning. So my main company, Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting, I see that growing. I actually want to. My vision is I want to have the Blaze Your Own Trail Studios, and this studios is going to be kind of an incubator for high school age kids, where they can come and learn how to podcast. They can come and learn how to do social media the right way. They can come learn public speaking. That'll be free for any high school student that maybe wants to be an entrepreneur down the road. And then we'll also have live events, a place where we can host live events and people can come and do public speaking and monetize that space, and then have it, offices. And I want, a full court basketball, like indoor, like, so I've got
Yeah.
a very, very big vision. One of my mentors, that he passed away a few months ago, his name was Bill Gray. This is a guy that's been mentoring me for 5 years. Like, if you looked at his life and situation, you'd say, man, I want that guy's life. But if you know what he had to go through to get there, you might change your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he was just one of those people that always challenged me to dream so big that it scared me. And that, what I just explained to you, that's scary. It's scary to put that pressure on yourself to feed into the next generation. But I really feel called to be able to do that, because if I would have had that type of mentorship at a younger age, I can only see how much further, I would be along my journey. And so I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to add value, and I want to be able to make a positive impact on society. So ultimately, that's my goal. And then how am I going to do that? Well, the agency is continuing to grow. The podcast is continuing to grow and thrive. I'm part owner of actually a fishing company called Live Lures. So if you or anyone in your network likes to fish, we've actually developed fishing lures that are actually 3X and 5X people that are fishing for bass, smallmouth bass, trout. And man, it's making waves right now. We've got a bunch of other products. So that's, kind of a legacy move right there, being a
Right.
part of that. And then I've got another a couple contracts in negotiation right now, where I might have equity in a company in Europe, and actually help launch the U.S. side of things. And then another company that's going to really revolutionize and the monetization of collegiate sports as well. So I've got a lot of things going
You're not
on.
messing
And
around.
what I love about the position that I'm in is, and this is the reason why I left corporate, is at corporate I had so many ideas and they all turned into nothing because they had to get put on a list.
Right.
Today, if I have an idea, I can freaking go activate on it, bro. If I fail, who cares? I just come up with another idea. And
Yep.
companies are reaching out to me, startups especially, because of my ideation and my creativity. And they're saying, how do we hire you to help us launch this thing? And that's like a passion of mine, is helping startups, is helping
Right.
people take their ideas that they have, and how do I iterate on it and help them get to that next level. Like, I have such a passion for doing that, and it's actually given me global exposure. I've got clients now all over the world, and I'm a free agent, right? I'm a free agent at this point, so I
Yeah.
can say yes or I can say no, and I don't have to go on this giant scrolled list that's going down 1,000 staircase
Right.
before something actually happens. Because I'm not a guy that's going to sit around. If I hear something new, I'm going to go do it. I'm
Right.
going to go apply it and see if it works for me. And that's what I encourage everyone listening or that's going to watch this to do. Like, take massive action. The
Yeah.
worst thing that can happen is you fall on your face. And actually, honestly, that's probably the best thing that can happen,
Yeah.
is you can fall on your face. It's all about perspective. How are you looking at it? And can you take that to help bring you to that next step that you're going to take?
Yeah, it's like a scientist. It's those hypotheses that hypothesis that you're always testing. You're always trying to figure out what works here, doesn't work. Now, what do we change? And just keep moving on. But
100%.
I've enjoyed talking to you. I think I think this is going to be great. It's going to be very valuable for the audience. Where can they find you? Where can they get your services and things like that?
Yeah. So some of the best places to find me. So Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, it's all at Jordan J. Mendoza. My DMs are open. If you guys have questions about, starting a business, maybe growing a business, maybe you're looking for a coach, you're looking for someone that can help you get from where you are to where you want to be, by all means, reach out. I'll also give you my email address. I love hearing from people. Even if it's just feedback, like, hey, Jordan, maybe next time don't say this, or hey, you did a great job. Like, whatever it is, feedback is a gift. All right. And that's something that I always tell people, is it is truly a gift, getting feedback, whether good or bad, because we can
Yeah.
always learn something from it. So feel free to email me, Jordan at blazeyourowntrailconsulting.com. It's the email address so long that you're going to want to enter me as a contact. I did that
Save
on
that bad
purpose.
boy.
It was strategic. So
Yeah.
save that, plug it in. And Wes, I just want to say, what you're doing here with this show, man, I've gotten a chance to consume the content. I see what you're putting out. I see you, brother. You're doing an amazing job, and you're really helping shape success for other people. So keep it up.
Man, I seriously appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing where this goes in the future, because I know that it's not like this is the end of the conversation for us. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, man. We'll catch you next time. Hey, I just wanted to tell you that if you're afraid to put that story out there, remember that your story may help someone, and Jordan's story is something that is a great one, and there's a lot of adversity that you went through there. So just remember that your story can always help someone, no matter how bad it is or how good it is. Share that. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.